Security, or the lack of it, has in recent times ignited a huge national debate in Nigeria. And as the nation's regular security agencies continue to struggle in the face of a worsening insurgency and or terrorism, the idea of regional security outfits seems to have caught on. It all started with the launch of the Western Nigeria Security Network, or Operational Amotekun. 2 days ago, some groups in the northern part of Nigeria also responded in kind by introducing a security outfit they call Shege Fakasa. This will be the peg of our interaction with our esteemed guests this morning, before expanding it to include President Buhari's recent postulations on religion and security, return of the Abacha loot, and its reinvestment in infrastructure, the PDP and the politics of 2023, and other issues of national importance. To discuss all of this, we have with us in our Lagos studio Chief Bode George, a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party and one-time Deputy National Chairman of the PDP in the Southwest. Over in our studio in Abuja, we will also be joined by Chief George Agbakahi, a public affairs commentator. Welcome to the program, Chief.
My pleasure.
Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Happy New Year in the face of all this heavy traffic.
Yes, and Chief Martin Agbakahi, are you with us there in Abuja? Good morning. Okay, well, I understand Chief Agbakahi is still on his way, so we'll start with you, Chief Bode George. Well, let's start with this emergence of security networks, regional security networks. We have the Western one, Western Nigerian one called Operation Amotekun. Now a coalition of northern groups has also announced what they call Shege Fakasa. And some people have been saying, instead of all these security networks, is it not better for us to just embrace the idea of state police? Because it seems to be, this is what the people want, in line with the recommendation of the 2014 National Conference.
Thank you for that question. You know, the first responsibility of governance is the safety of the properties and the lives of the people. Now, if you look at the current Nigerian police, we have the IGP who sits in Abuja, we have Commissioner of Police in all the states, and then DPOs and area commanders and all that. The total population of the police is about 240-something thousand people for a population of over 200 million Nigerians. It is absolutely inadequate. Now, what is wrong in having the community police? That's exactly what Amotekun is for. Because if you don't have enough hands in your locality, then how do you survive? Right now, we are at the precipice. We are on the edge of democracy. For me, as a former general too, it's a value added to the insecurity of this country, you know, in policing it. And you know, when I was growing up, of course, Lagos was not part of Western region, but we knew they had Akodas. That was what they called it in Western Nigeria. And they were effective. What happened to them was that after the crisis of 1962-63 in Ibadan and all, you remember the Akintola versus Papa Olowo and all that, people now started using it for political gain. And that was why it was scrapped. Now, with the expansive population we have and the need to ensure that people in every locality can sleep well at night, can walk around in the day, go to work, go to school without being harassed, what is wrong in it? I believe the state government who will pay their bills, not the federal government. And you know, the current constitution that we're running was in line with the American Constitution. But in America, every county, in other words, the equivalent of local governments, have their own local police. The sheriff, the marshal, they are there to handle the immediacy of the environment. But when you say, oh, everything that is designed, everything that is discussed in this country today, everybody's on the edge, quick to defend it. Oh, why do you want to? The suspicion is unnecessary. You know, there's an adage in my part of the world that says, this is the way we do things in my area. It may be completely opposite to what you do in your own local area. So the local people can police themselves well because they know everybody who lives around the place. If there's a stranger that is in, they want to know which family house is living, what is he doing, does he sleep all day and go out at night? You know? So to me, there's nothing wrong. The more the merrier. Let us secure our people. Let us give a sense of quiet and safety for them. I don't see anything wrong. And if it can work in America, that we are copying their own system of governance, why wouldn't it work here? What is this serious, vicious suspicion? Any suggestion from A or B, everybody's on the edge. The distrust is very disturbing. And to me, it is not necessary as a nation. Okay, we have our differences, but remember what the early politicians in this country said, that, you know, these our differences are the real strength of this nation. And I don't think the government should get himself involved in it. Whether it's going to lead to state police or not, there is need for state police too. Because if you think one man sitting in Abuja as the head of the police will be able to effectively police the community, that's a dream. That's a dream. The same thing, governance. Look, the First Republic, we had the regional governments. People knew their premier. They are closer to their premier more than whoever is the prime minister. Right now, we are running the government like a military setup. You have the president, and everybody waits for the others there. It cannot work, and it's not working. So it's not only in the area of security, but what about the economy? There is a need to revisit the complete management of our nation.
Absolutely, sir. If we are indeed committed to democracy, we need to. But I wanted to take up some of the points that you mentioned. But before that, I think you'd like to introduce our guest.
Yes, I think that second guest is already in our Abuja studio, Chief George Agbakahi.
No, he's also a judge.
Chief Agbakahi, good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you.
Good morning, and welcome to the morning show. Thank you for agreeing to appear on the morning show. Well, quickly, before you joined us, we were discussing the emergence of security networks across the country. Already we have Operation Amotekun in the western region, western part of the country. And then in the north, we have the announcement of Operation Shege Fakasa. And we've been discussing with Chief George here in Lagos what he thinks. What are your own thoughts on this emergence of security networks, alternative security networks, as it were? Do you think they pose a threat to national unity, or, you know, it's a welcome development to have them?
I think the emergency of regional, security outfit in Nigeria somehow is a step in the right direction, especially when you take into consideration the security lapses in the country, in terms of, enormous insecurity. But we have to understand that this particular issue, about lack of security has been ongoing since 1999. It's not a current, predicament. But the point is this. the Nigerian police, as we know, currently, is underfunded. Issues of lack of training and, inadequate equipment. As a matter of fact, according to United Nations, each country globally is supposed to have 400, citizenry per policeman. But in our Nigerian situation, you find out that it is not so. I think currently we have about 370,000 policemen. For us to be able to get up to that United Nations standard, considering the fact that Nigerian population, let's take it to be 200 million or slightly over it, I think we need at least, 500,000 or 600,000 policemen to be able to match the United Nations standard. But however, I think the current administration has been trying its best, to curtail the security situation in the country, especially when you take into consideration the way the current administration is going about providing, equipment, to both the military and to the police force. I'm well aware of the commissioning of, I think, 17 helicopters, for the Nigerian Air Force, and other equipments. But the issue is this. The problem is not, having all this regional outfit. I think the thing is that, for example, the Amatekon in the western region, like I said, it's a good idea to have, regional securities, north, east, west, and south, which is kind of regionalism, as we have in other developed countries like in US. After all, in US, you have the FBI, you have the state police that are usually in charge of highways. You also have the county police, and finally the municipal police, and they all work. They are independent somehow, but they also report, to the federal government in some security situations. So this issue of regional, outfit, quite all right, is a good idea. But I believe the best way to handle it is for us to go through the constitutional process. Let's go through the National Assembly, and we are in a democracy, and pass a bill that will allow regions or even states, to have their own, security outfit, but which will somehow be supervised, by the Nigerian police, like the IG in particular. Those are the issues to me. Another thing is this. Okay, listen. This issue of banditry, the issue of kidnapping, the issue of, robbery, abduction, it has become the characteristics, of the Nigerian society. I think government need to do a whole lot, to, put this to a stop. That is why we require, the employment of a lot of police people, a lot of policemen, even up to at least even 200, 300,000 more police people, so that it can be able to fit in, with the United Nations standard.
I'd like to go back to your earlier point, Chief, about policing and us failing to faithfully copy the American model, which Chief Agbakahi also just reiterated. But another issue, the regional policing came about from a general public clamor for improved security. Another public clamor has been to do with the demand for calls for the security chiefs to resign. Now, we as civilians, and, you know, when you hear things like that, even from the National Assembly, we don't know the military protocol, but I'm told that in military terms that is simply not the done thing. Can you confirm that as a former general yourself, that they actually are serving at the pleasure of their commander-in-chief and must be relieved of their duties, that there's no question of them resigning? Is that true?
No, that is absolutely true. Once you are appointed as the head of the service, Army, Navy, and the Air Force, they serve at the pleasure of the president. But that does not remove the fact that once you hit 60 years of age, or you spend 35 years in service, you should go. Nobody can force you to remain. If they do that, at the end of that your tenure, whichever day you go, the system will calculate all the salaries and allowances you have collected, and you will pay back to the government. That is the standard law. I don't know whether they've spent, they are by age, whichever is earlier, or they've spent 35 years in service. But those are the major issues that should be taken into consideration. We always talk about a run-out date, and that is the run-out date. Once you hit 60 years old of age, or you spend 35 years in service, you must go.
Thank you for that clarification.
I don't know whether those ones currently serving have hit that or not. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. And we'll come back over to Abuja, Chief Agbakahi. I'd like to also bring you up on another topic in the same realm that's a bit more controversial. Now, recently, the Christian Association of Nigeria and other members of the Christian community have expressed their remorse at the persecution of Christians, or shall I say alleged persecution of Christians, that is happening in different parts of Nigeria. If we recall, on Christmas Eve, 12 Christians were beheaded. We also recall the situation with the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria in Adamawa, who was recently also killed by Boko Haram after having been abducted and his ransom wasn't paid, amongst other issues in this realm. Now, the president's response to this was to come out with a figure that no one really has, and he called 90%, saying that 90% of the victims or victims and survivors of terror attacks and insurgency are Muslims. Now, that was very far from the points that was trying to be put across. What is your take on this and the way in which the current administration has handled or responded to the concerns of the Christian community in Nigeria?
Okay, first of all, let me go back to what my colleague, Chief Bode George, talked about with respect to, the continuing stay of the, current military chiefs. With all due respect, sir, I think in a democracy, the military chiefs, be it Air Force, Army, Navy, and of course police, they all serve at the behest of Mr. President. I know fully well that in the United States, during the regime of Ronald Reagan, military leaders like Alexander Haig served way past 65 years. And, let's not politicize this particular issue. I remember pretty well during the President Yaradua and Jonathan era, military leaders, the CDS, the chief of CDS, Bade, the chief of Air Force, Amosun, and the chief of Navy, the gentleman Jubrin from Kogi State. And they all served way past, their required period when they're supposed to retire. So I believe, they all serve at the behest of the Mr. President, because it's just like an appointment serving as a military chief, So let's not politicize it, But however, the issue of killing of Christians, with special emphasis to the killing of the Adamawa State chairman of Christian Association of Nigeria, is a sad one. I think this should be condemned by all well-meaning Nigerians, irrespective of your ethnic, political, and religious learning. You know, I'm pretty sure, you know, I heard it, Mr. President and the administration also condemned it. You know, I think the issue of religion is one that I wouldn't want us to really delve into, you know, in Nigerian politics. Because in other countries, the issue of religion has destroyed societies. You know, look at Lebanon. You know, during the Falangist party of Michael Aoun, and look at Afghanistan, Pakistan. Religion, you know, has destroyed most societies. I believe it is best that we all come together, you know, the way God has, you know, created us, kept us in this country, whether you are a Muslim, whether you are a Christian, whether you are an atheist, you know, let's work together as one, you know, and make sure that our country becomes a better place to live.
Well, Chief, I don't know whether you also want to comment on the issue of religion and security, particularly now that we have church leaders organizing street protests. The other day it was Pastor Adeboye leading the congregation to say that every soul is important and should not be wasted.
I accept that and I agree with it entirely. I am getting a little bit upbeat with the attitude on both sides. You know, in Lagos, in any family, you will find those who are Christians, who are Muslims, and who are atheists. But they're the same family. My older sister, I'm a Christian. My older sister married a Muslim, so she's an Elijah. Am I going to disown her? Right from the time I was young, any festivities, whether it was Mohammedan or Christian, we will all join in my area and enjoy ourselves. That was the spirit. I want to please appeal to our people. They are driving this concept to the precipice. The most nasty war you can think of is a religious war. It will not help this country. I don't even know how people here in the South will fight. You have Christians up also in the North. Are they going to disown them? I didn't like the statement credited to Oga, to the president, when he said, 90% of those who have been murdered, anybody murdered and is a Nigerian should be our concern. Yes. It doesn't matter. Religion is... What are the... Religion has no tribal marks. Your faith is your faith. And nobody decides to say, I want to be born into a Christian home or I want to be born into a Muslim home. You are born, you don't have a decision on it. So it's your journey in life through your parent upbringing that you take on whatever religion you want to be. And so it should be personal. You shouldn't come into the fora of, this one is a Muslim, number one. You are a Christian, fall out. No. Every Nigerian life should be our concern. And this issue of this insurgency must be tackled. It is no longer just that war that you bring. It's absolutely unconventional now, because those guys too live amongst the people. How do you know them? It's a guerrilla warfare now. And to detect them, that is the beauty of us having this Amotekun or the counterpart somewhere else. Because in your community, you know those who live there. You know who is doing what. The national police cannot cope with that. It's not that they are not efficient, but they can't cope. How many of them? And somebody sitting, take America that will copy their constitution. The FBI headquarters is in Washington. In every state they have FBI. And they know the importance of making sure that people are safe in their counties, in the states. And FBI people too, they are all over the place. But everybody knows this limit. When it gets beyond your limit, Ebia comes in. So why are we too particular about, oh, you want to start this? Does that mean you want to pull away from Nigeria? We are looking for whatever way that will bring succor to the people of this country so that we can sleep well at night. And for me, my friend said that, yes, they serve at the pleasure of the commander-in-chief. I said, yes, I agree with that. But once you have hit 60 years of age or 35 years, whichever is earlier, you should go.
Well, thank you very much, Chief Bode George. I won't be able to take more. And thank you very much, Chief Agbakahi, for joining us this morning on The Morning Show.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much indeed.